So here we go, guys. Let me let you know something right now. Everybody who thought that now the Mueller report is in and people were popping champagne and celebrating, I got news for you. This is long from over. Long from over. And if you don't think that they had a plan B, a plan C, a plan D, that this is going to be drawn out all the way into the next election, you would be completely wrong. Because right now, obstruction of justice is the new Russian collusion. We all thought the Mueller report was going to be on Russian collusion, right? Well, turns out, and I read the entire 4 pages over on the Pulse Change channel, the backup of the We Are Change channel with Luke yesterday. Well, there's a second part of this report. It's broken up into 2 parts, 2 main parts anyway, and one of them was Russian collusion, which they couldn't find any evidence of. But the second, obstruction of justice, well, we didn't want to interpret whether we should charge Trump or anybody in the administration with the obstruction of justice charge. I knew this was coming because it's literally been a growing left talking point from the establishment over the last few months. And we know why Whitaker was put in there. Let's have no illusions. And then Barr. It was to get this done. I mean, first of all, it's absurd the amount of money they spent on this. What was revealed yesterday, the numbers are mind-blowing. How much more they spent and how much more effort they had for this than the 9/11 Commission report. Let that sink in. And remember, Robert Mueller is one of the people that helped cover up 9/11. Now, I want to show people this. So what I did here is I archived from September 1st of last year to March 16th, 2019. Now, notice I just put obstruction of justice. Pretty broad term. Happens all over. Obstruction of justice actually does occur throughout the country in varying degrees. However, every single one of these articles, November 9th, November 8th, November 8th, 7th, 8th, 9th, keep going. March, ramping it up in March. Who are we talking about? Yes, the Democrats and the establishment all talking about obstruction of justice charges. Look, Washington Post, a new understanding of collusion and obstruction of justice. What Bill Barr doesn't understand about obstruction of justice. Now again, Bill Barr chose, and Rosenstein, according to these documents, chose not to charge Trump with any of these obstruction of justice that may or may not have been a crime, according to Mueller. So the media is in high gear. High gear. Look at this. A crime in public view. How William Barr pardoned Donald Trump. This is today, Vanity Fair. Give me a break. And remember, I'm not a Trump trainer. I call the Trump administration out on plenty. Plenty. We've had our hearts broken on the promises of getting out of Afghanistan, getting out of Syria, getting out of Iraq. Never happened. Never happened. Instead, I mean, he just gave the Golan Heights region to Israel, even though he doesn't own them. It's going to start a huge conflict with Russia. Another video I'll do, I'm sure. But check this out. Sanders, one of the leaders, back in November, interfering with Mueller's probe is an impeachable offense. And what's he talking about? Obstruction of justice. It's right there in his tweet. President Trump must allow special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation to continue unimpeded. Any attempt of the president or the Justice Department to interfere with Mueller's probe would be an obstruction of justice and impeachable offense. So you got Bernie, who still holds a lot of weight, running for president. He's talking about obstruction of justice all the way back in November. Okay? It's all over right here. Look at these ones. There's Bernie again. I don't want a summary of the Mueller report. I want the whole damn report. I do too. Totally agree with that. I think we should see the entire report. I think it will be shown to people. But again, because Mueller, first of all, they lied about it. In those 4 pages, they say that they have proven that Guccifer 2.0 is Russian agents, and that's where these DNC leaks came from that got to WikiLeaks. Anybody who's followed this knows that is untrue, and that it had nothing to do with Russia, and that people like Kim.com, Seth Rich, and others were involved. Do your digging. So right out of the gates, right there, out of that 4-page summary that Barr signs off on in Mueller's report, Mueller, the king of the cover-up, The guy that helped lie about weapons of mass destruction to get us into Iraq. That's fact, folks. That is fact. He gives you total bullshit when it comes to what the DNC leaks are in the first place. All right? And then you watch. They're already saying, where is it right here? Here we go. They're already saying they're going to get Bill Barr. Here's Nadler. Now, Nadler's already called for obstruction of justice. He wants to impeach Trump. He says they're going to call Attorney General Barr to testify before the House Judiciary Committee in the near future. Okay. So far from over. I'm not even going to show you Comey in the woods. In the woods, more questions than answers. Oh, who else says that? What's the talking point? There it is, Nancy Pelosi. AG Barr's letter raises as many questions as it answers. God, I hate her. She is the worst of the worst establishment hack politicians out there. The fact that Mueller's report does not exonerate the president on a charge as serious as obstruction of justice demonstrates how urgent it is the full report and documents be made public without any further delay. Again, let's have them out there. I'm totally for that. Totally for that. Now, Beto doubled down. This is what he said in a tweet. But he said before, I think it was like a high school auditorium, he fully believes that the Trump administration colluded with Russia to get him elected. And I'm going to show you an interview, again, from 2 weeks ago when he went on Gayle King and said the same exact thing. But he doubled down after the report was over. I just want to make that clear, okay? Release the full Mueller report for the American people and their representatives. There must be transparency and accountability. That guy does not care about transparency. He does not care about accountability. He is literally the next product they are trying to sell you as president. He could not beat Grandpa Munster with a beard, Ted Cruz. Get the fuck out of here. You're a loser, bro. Your political rhetoric is laughable. You are a cookie-cutter politician. And I want to show that video here because it's so repulsive. Again, he wants to come after Trump on real issues, but this guy's going to, again, stay in the wars in the Middle East, probably expand AFRICOM on top of that, get us into more bad global trade deals. This guy is the establishment. Restrict gun rights, you name it. That's what this guy's about.
To do so.
You had said earlier that you thought President Trump should be impeached. Do you still feel that way?
It's beyond the shadow of a doubt to me that if there was not collusion, there was at least the effort to collude with a foreign power. Beyond the shadow of a doubt that if there was not obstruction of justice, there certainly was the effort to obstruct justice, whether that's...
So listen what he said, this politician. Again, if there wasn't obstruction of justice, there was an attempt to obstruct justice. Wouldn't that be obstruction of justice, you moron? Give me a break.
Firing James Comey, the principal investigator into what happened in the 2016 election, or in the light of day, tweeting to your attorney general, as President Trump did, to end the Russia investigation.
Because you know Speaker Pelosi's gone on record. She does not think that's the way to go at this particular time.
How Congress chooses to address those set of facts and the findings, which I believe we are soon to see from the Mueller report, is up to them.
And we've seen them, and again, you doubled down that you believe that there was absolutely Russian collusion. So there's one more clip over here. Now, I got to tell you, not a fan of Rudy Giuliani. Again, another man that covered up 9/11, knew a lot more than he was saying, tried to capitalize off of that, and ran for president based on him being the mayor of New York City during that tragic event. Those are facts, folks. Championed the wars in the Middle East. A lawyer for Trump now, okay? So basically he says it's impossible to obstruct justice if there is no underlying crime. No collusion means no obstruction. And I got to tell you, I have to agree with him here.
Rudy Giuliani is joining us on the phone right now, the president's personal attorney. Mayor, thank you so much for joining us. Well, let's get your immediate reaction. You've read this 4-page single-spaced letter. What do you think?
Well, I'm here with Jay Sekulow, my co-counsel, and we've had a chance to quickly go through it. We think it's a complete exoneration of the president. Certainly, it's quite clear no collusion of any kind, including the entire Trump campaign. which kind of raises the question, why did this ever start in the first place?
And then as to the obstruction, Wolf, the key there is that the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General made the conclusion that you don't have obstruction when there's no underlying crime. And I think that we've said from the outset that this was a situation where there was no collusion, there was no obstruction, and now we have the weight of the Department of Justice agreeing with us.
But very important, though, I want to get your reaction to one line in this letter. They quote the special counsel, Robert Mueller, as saying, as far as obstruction of justice, this is to you, Jay, and to Rudy Giuliani, quote, while this report does not conclude that the president committed a crime, it also does not exonerate him. What's your reaction to that?
Yes, but then if you go on to the next two paragraphs, Wolf, the Attorney General does kind of a brilliant analysis of it. And he says that he and Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein have concluded that the evidence is not sufficient to establish that the president committed an obstruction of justice offense. Then he goes even further, and he points out that basically under settled law, it's almost impossible to have an obstruction of justice if there's no underlying crime.
And we'll leave it there.
Lawyer.
Obviously. So, listen, again, not a fan of Giuliani. Not a huge fan of the Trump administration right now. But this Russia hoax, you know, they're talking about it being the weapons of mass destruction for this generation. Obviously, this one didn't cost 500,000 Iraqi lives on record. A lot more U.S. soldiers start an imperial war that's now, you know, no doubt going to span 2 decades plus with no end in sight. Makes me want to throw open my mouth. But, you know, the media hoaxed this one just as hard. Just as hard. And they're going to continue to do so. And that's why obstruction of justice is absolutely the new Russian collusion. Watch how long this takes. Watch how drawn out this is. The political theater, folks, is far from over. If you like this video, please smash those thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you ring that bell so you actually see when I go live so you can join. You know, I do read some of these chats. Some of the more involved ones where I'm going through documentation. I absolutely go through your chats as well. I appreciate it, guys. And remember to go check out my regular work over at We Are Change and Pulse Change. Once again, thank you so much for joining me.